it's a bit complicated. There we go, we're up and running. We should appear everywhere shortly. There you go. Right, we're back on Hot Mic, we're back on Facebook, we're back on YouTube, and I can just chill a little bit now. What happened there in the last ball?
Defensively played into the covers, no run.
Okay, I'll get on to playing some jingles. Karen, who's appreciably slower than our man Woody, and it shows, is just clipped around the corner by Pereira for a single after tee. It'll be interesting to see how his hand holds up for the next test. And it was interesting that I was just listening to Rob Key actually on the break. I don't know if you were. He was basically saying what I was saying.
What were you saying?
That Dom Bess is just too inconsistent with his line and length, and if he wants to be a professional, if he wants to be an international class spinner, he's got to get tighter. We have Thiramani has got an on Hayden and a short mid wicket to him.
Well, the short mid wicket's like catnip to you, though, isn't it? There.
Well, it is indeed, yes. And it'll be no run as it's hit to the on Hayden. I shall play some jingles for our erstwhile people. Sam Curran is bowling.
Is he a batter or bowler?
Sam Curran.
What's his distinguishing feature?
Sam Curran.
His dad's from Zimbabwe.
Sam Curran.
And he's beloved by Liz Yates.
Sam Curran.
And we also have Kusal Pereira.
Another keeper batsman snuck out of the country. One of the replacements in a Sri Lankan blazer. The bowlers broke down. So what do they
he gets the ball that's wide outside his off stump. Throws his hands at his Pereira. There's a half appeal by Butler, miles away from his body, and he's really get across to it.
The look on Root's face at slip was looking at Butler as if to go, "What are you peeling for?"
Well, there's been the Sri Lankans have peeled twice, didn't they, for balls that clearly hadn't hit the bat. You could have quite easily got an edge on that straight after a break.
It'll be the loud crowd noises, so they can't hear the edges.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it must be so quiet there. You could hear yourself change your mind.
Shorter this time by Curran. It's played out behind square on the offside. Slip has to go across. He's route to field it. He'll get himself a single. He'll retain a strike. That was the end of the over. No, sorry, that was Thiramani hit that. I thought it was Pereira was on strike, but no. We got a jingle for him too. It's this.
La Hero Thiramani.
John Corbett's been in touch, and he says, and it's a hot mic. He says, "Hello from a fairly chilly Philippines." And then he adds the temperature, 22 degrees C. I'm quite happy.
Oh, I'm gutted for you.
I'm gutted for you, exactly. I'm quite happy to have a 22 degrees C at the moment, but it's not happening.
Modesty.
I'd go for
I'm saying what I really think.
I'd go for 22 or -2, but at the moment we've got +2, which means that it's just raining and miserable and horrible.
It is very miserable out the window here in Sydenham, I have to say. The kids were
We did have a bit of snow the first thing this morning when I got the milk in, but it's all gone now.
Oh, you have milk delivered?
Yeah, we do
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Oh my word! I mean, there are people who do that around us, but I've never actually seen them.
My wife and my mother-in-law are completely dependent upon tea, and so we're not doing without.
It's rumoured that they do, but no, I've not seen it. Ruthie looks a little bit worried. Who's on social out of you two?
I think it's me. Yeah, I'm having a quick look. There wasn't anything, but now there is.
I'm sure there is. People have come back after tea.
Typing Shan says Dom not at his best today.
No. Leach is going to continue after tea, and the first ball he gets to turn from about leg stump to Thiramani, who just plays it around the corner. There is a leg slip, there is a short leg, there is a slip.
Do you think it's interesting that Broadie's only bowled 4 overs?
Yeah, I'd have given Broadie. I mean, they in the first innings as well, didn't they? They bowled a lot more in the opening spell with a new ball. I thought they'd have gone for a similar tactic in the second innings. I don't see why you shouldn't. He's got variations, and so has Curran, and you've got Woody as well, who's pretty quick. I thought they were a little bit too quick to go to spin, just because Sri Lanka did. I mean, we were quite successful early on with pace in the first innings with a new ball. Ball was turned into the leg side by Thirumanni, out past short leg. That'll be a single out to the deep. I should play Leachy his jingle.
Messages has suggested a few euphemisms. I was resting my eyes and I may have slightly gone back to sleep.
No, I wasn't. I was just watching it. The thing is, because they're not on the ground, what I've noticed in this coverage, Leach. Oh, that could be. Oh man, it was a pretty filthy ball actually by Leach. It stood up, it was a bit too short, and Kusa was through his shot too early. It seemed to balloon off his gloves. I thought it was his glove. It didn't seem to carry or go anywhere near short leg. Yeah, it was definitely
it's gone off
his
the glove.
But it's too square of Sibley. And too fine of short leg. But he slog swept that aerial for a while. Gone down to Sam Curran, who's at deep square leg. And he'll get back for 2.
I was surprised by it went that far behind square. He must have really given that a bit of a wristy flick at the end.
Yeah, indeed. Well, they're trying only by 190 now. 96 for none. It's a good opening partnership, this.
Certainly is.
And Leach. Maybe I'll go over the wicket as well. Again, when he's got the leg slip, he's bowling for it. But Pereira's got that very fine, and it's raced away down to the fine leg boundary for 4 runs. And that brings up their 100.
We've got a lovely sketch from Dan Diper of Galle before tea, looking rather beautiful.
Very nice, very nice. And England's fielders look a little bit bereft. There's plenty of time left, and if they have to bat again, they have to bat again. Another sweep this time. Sibley does get down at leg slip and grasps it before it goes past him.
Like you said, that's what he's bowling for, isn't it? The mistimed sweep.
Yeah. Or just a little nudge off the hip. You got to get the right line and length right. Yeah, I mean, Rob Key was basically saying that Bess was his landing spots, his area where he was landing was way too big, and therefore he wasn't consistent enough. And you've got to make the batsman, think about what you're doing and look like you're threatening the outside edge, which is pretty much what he wasn't doing. So he was agreeing with me, is what I'm saying.
Well, we need no go further than that.
Absolutely.
100 for naught. This is not exactly what I expected after lunch when England had dropped like flies. I thought that Sri Lanka would probably do the same, and very much not the case.
Well, the thing is, apart from the fact that it was the lower order that dropped like flies, especially after Sam Curran was bowled. He's in now, and Thirumanni defended it back down the track, and there's no run. These are top order batsmen. You'd hope that if they can get themselves in, they would survive longer. I suppose this is one of the better chances. You're back after a break. They've had 20 minutes off the pitch. Got to see themselves back in again.
It's funny, isn't it? I thinking back to Sri Lanka's second and third seamers and just how ineffective they seemed, and what a lack of danger there occurred to be.
Defended down to On Hayden. I think it's broad, and there's no run. Well, this is it.
I can't help thinking the same thing when I look at Sam Curran bowl on this pitch.
Well, I think the pitch is very slow, and if you can get yourself in and you're a decent batsman, it either takes a very good ball to get you out, or you make a mistake. And in the first innings, a lot of Sri Lanka's batsmen made mistakes, and England's didn't particularly. And Best should be the weapon here. Best should be the one challenging the outside edge to the lefties. It's harder for Leach, as that's just guided out to backward point. No, there isn't a backward point, so Root has to go from slip again and field it.
What did you make of the way that Root bowled?
Because that was when I was shutting my eyes on the sofa next door. Well, what I did see, it was all right. He was bowling quite flat, but he was bowling a consistent line. Didn't go for a lot of runs. Didn't get hit. Didn't make it easy. I think it's too. You don't want, as a spinner, I just don't want people playing me off the back foot. I'd rather they were driving at me. Curran throws that up outside off stump, too wide. Oh, he's got a wicket though. There you go. There's one thrown away. Shit takes wickets. That was wide, full. Wide, short, and a bit filthy. And Kusal Pereira threw his hands through it and hit it pretty well out the middle of the bat, but top half of the bat, and it's gone aerial out to deep point. Was that Broadie out there catching that? It was, wasn't it?
It's the fact that I think he's taken one hand off the bat, I think. No, it's Leach.
It's Leach, and he's not wearing his glasses. Well, he didn't seem
No,
to.
he doesn't wear his glasses when he's fielding or when he's bowling.
Why?
And
he's short-sighted though, isn't he? Anyway, we get a wicket, which is really handy for England.
On your bike, mate.
it just goes to show that you can reverse jinx wickets in, can't you? Curran's not a danger. Bang.
No, exactly. Bank that wicket. That's good. And now you've got a new man at the crease. He's on an Audi and he's looking for his Olympic rings. And it'd be good if we could get them.
So, can I ask you a question as potential captains? Would you do something just a little bit, would you like make the field a little bit extra difficult to get off the mark then, if you've got someone who's maybe a couple of extra close fielders in, that sort of thing? Or would you just have your plan and stick to your plan?
Well, I would do. I mean, it must be on his mind. I've had 4 ducks in a row. There aren't that many people who gets 5 ducks in a row as top order batsman in international cricket. It's a bit of a millstone around my neck. And I don't want to. I want to get off the mark. So I'm sure that'll be playing on his mind. Let's give him a jingle.
Mendes was a man who thought he was a keeper, so they played him as a number 3. 'Cause that's where the selectors for Sri Lanka think a keeper needs to be. Get back, get back, get back to where you ought to bat. Get back, get back, get back to where you ought to bat. Get back, Kusal Mendes.
Well, he won't be facing. Oh no, he shouldn't be facing.
I don't think they ran.
Do you think not?
I don't think they ran.
Oh dear. That's another.
I think he stood and looked at that shot for a little bit too long. Now he's facing.
No, he is facing.
An interesting dab of respect there.
Yeah, who was that? Was that Rooty?
Yep.
Oh, surely I'd be giving him a little dig. Come on. First.
How very Australian of you.
Yeah, well, you've got to try everything. I want it over today. I want it over this session. I don't want to have to get up tomorrow morning. First ball is just defended to short leg and there's no run. There is a leg slip. There is a short leg. I think there's a slip or 2. And Root is looking on pensively. And Curran has come around the wicket to Kusal Mendes, who has just defended that ball back down the track and there's no run. I get Broadie on as well. Now, have a little go at him.
Broad or Wood?
Well, I might go for Broadie actually. Got him in the first innings.
I think that last one might have been a no ball. I think we've got one more ball left in the over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we figure out whether they were doing? I presume they're doing no balls from off the field in this series.
I think so.
As well. Yeah. Well, he will have to face another ball, and he comes around the wicket, Curran, into the pads, and he looks a bit worried, Mendes, but he defends that easily enough up to Broad at mid-on. And Leach will feel a lot happier having a right-hander to bowl to. And I was going to say, because they're not on the ground, they're basically cutting back to the cricket really late. So I find myself listening to them in there and trying to gauge when they're going to go back to the ground for the start of, and sometimes they come back and it's virtually the guys coming in to bowl. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've got a couple more tweets. Matt Hardy is also making us jealous, saying currently a very nice 17 degrees after a stupidly hot 28 all day here in Hanmer Springs, New Zealand. England need a wicket like we need a cold beer. Well, they've got one now.
I hope you've
Get
got a
yourself
cold beer.
Cold beer, yeah, exactly.
I mean, when is it too early for us to start drinking if we start commentating at 3:30 in the morning?
Well, I presume you could actually
Morally.
over the yard arm
Technically
if you start at
it's
half
still
3.
yesterday, so you can start whenever you like.
Okay.
After having
Mog says, hello Katie, you were right, too many vowels. Not sure what that was in response to, but always true.
well, that's a leg side slog sweep from Thiramani. There's a guy at backward on the 45 and there's a guy at square leg up. There's no one out in the deep and it's gone away to the boundary for 4 more runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Turned a bit, but it started on leg.
Yeah.
I'd be tempted to try a little bit of over the wicket if I was Leach. He's insisting on going around the wicket to the lefties. I never liked that line, I've got to say myself. It's clipped into short leg and there's no run.
Do you do that to bring LBW into play, don't you?
Yeah, you do, and you do it if the pitch is turning a lot, which it is, which is a fair enough thing. But then you've got to get it across the off stump, and you've got to pivot a long way to get yourself around to get it over. That's just played out behind square on the leg side by Thiramani, and he'll get himself a single, bringing Mendes on strike. Now
So is it more effort, more shoulder turn then?
more effort, more shoulder turn, yeah. But the same sort of line to Mendes would be a decent line.
When you started bowling, did you start to learn to bowl over the wicket and then around the wicket, or did you just do whatever you felt like?
No, I was kind of told that I should be rolling around a wicket, and that kind of made sense. And I hate bowling to left-handers because generally on club wickets you just don't get a lot of turn. So the idea of bowling around the wicket to a lefty on a club wicket is kind of pointless because you've got to throw it across them, and generally it just goes on. So you're taking LBW out. Generally, you're never going to get a bowl because you can't bowl straight enough. You just get clipped. That's too short by Leach, but he's got a cover in. It's jabbed out to him by Mendes. And bowling over the wicket to a lefty, I always hate it because you're essentially being the off spinner to the right hand. If it's going to turn, and you generally, because you're bowling straighter, you could get turn on a flatter wicket. That's a decent ball, angling in at probably leg stump. Mendes is forward and just defends. But you tend to have to bowl it so far outside the off stump, you can't really attack the stumps. LBW doesn't really come in again. Bowled is, unless you get one to turn through the gate. I just don't like lefties as a left-handed spinner. He's not got himself off the mark. There's a man behind square. He's just swept that behind square, but straight to square leg. No run.
Come on, Mendes. Get off the mark.
Well, I mean, the good thing about it, I guess, so far is that he's been patient. You know, he hasn't looked to try to force anything so far.
Well, I think he's faced the same amount of balls he's faced in his last 5 innings. In this naught so far. He didn't face a lot in the first innings. I think he faced 6 balls for his 4 previous ducks or something stupid like that, someone said. Maybe that's wrong.
He's one of the most experienced players in the Sri Lankan team. I think he's played more tests than anyone apart from Angelo Matthews and Dinesh Chandimal. It's really quite a young, inexperienced team, but he's got experience, so he knows not to panic too much.
Yeah, I mean their top 5 is fairly reasonable top 5. Really. I mean, he's saying Matthews hasn't scored many runs recently. Seems to score runs against us. Chandimal's a pretty decent batsman. As Thiramani faces up to Curran, who's defended in the offside, and there's no run.
It's the bowling attack that's very wet behind the ears.
Well, it is wet behind the ears, but the pitches are helpful. And Emil Denia was fairly reasonable. I mean, the pitch isn't particularly helpful. I mean, it's turning, but it's slow turn. And it's still not misbehaving up and down, and the odd one is sort of jumping sharply. It's still pretty predictable, the turn. That's a nice shot. Full by Curran into the stumps, and clipped nicely by Thirumani out towards deep mid wicket. There's no one out there, and he'll pick himself up another 4 runs.
He just kind of leant on it and let the timing do the rest, didn't he?
Well, that's what you can do against the faster bowlers, can't you? That's why I think that's what I was saying before tea. I think it's important for the spinners to put it on the spot and make the batsman make the shots. Because if you just block it or turn it around, if you've got your field set correctly, it'll go straight to the fielder. It's not going to beat him, and therefore you don't get the runs. Whereas with the pace bowlers, you can lean on it. If you get your timing right, you can get it into a gap. You got a single. Driven up to mid off, and there is no run. It's broad fields.
With Nelson for one, is it like everything off the ground? Is that right? Is that how it works?
That's only if you're English, isn't it? I mean, for the Australians it's 87, and I don't know what, to have a bogey number down in Sri Lanka. I mean, where did Nelson come from? Anyone?
Not a clue, but I did read a thing by Andy Zoltzman a few years ago showing that it wasn't any more unlucky than any other number.
Well, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. That's defended by Thirumani, out to bat for a point, no run.
I could imagine it being more nervous because of the superstition, but actually from what Zolt showed, there was nothing there.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Well, yeah, do batsmen get nervous on 111? I just don't, I never take any notice of it, and I guess they don't either. It's just another number, isn't it?
It's also, if you do the feet off the air, it's quite good for your musculature.
Your core.
Especially if there's just blocking like this.
Yes, defended up to the on Hayden, and there is no run.
I mean, the only thing, it's one of the few things I can remember from watching cricket in my youth was that, why is that umpire jumping up and down, moving really weirdly on the spot. Shout out to my dad, by the way, who told me of such things.
Full again by Curran, and defended by Thirumani. Back to the bowler, and is no run. End of the 40th over, 111 for 1. Trail by just
I think we may have just lost Taiping Shan, who says the COVID restrictions mean the early pub restaurant chucking out time in Hong Kong looms. That was a few minutes ago, so I think he has now been chucked out. Hopefully you can rejoin us back at home, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, of course you can, Taiping Shan. I'm sure they've got internet out in Hong Kong. Gary Wade says, I love the miss. I presume that's you, Katie.
Right. Hi. And Dr. John Lowe from next door has just tweeted some of the photos from the last time when England toured in Galle, when he and I were out there. It really is a beautiful place to tour. I would recommend it to anyone once restrictions are lifted again.
Leach is in, and it's just dabbed around a corner. Kusal Mendes is not going to get some Olympic rings. He's finally got himself off the mark in his 5th innings. His big grin on his face. He's a happy man. He moves on to 1. Now he can happily get out.
Can you though?
Well, he can do it for me, and whilst he'll get berated for not getting any runs, he won't have got 5 ducks in a row.
I like that Thirumani was looking for the quick single there and called him through.
Yeah,
I think that's a
good team
responsible
work.
Team back play.
Indeed. Thirumani clips that into the leg side. There is someone out in the deep now, and it'll be a single. I mean, I might even be tempted to give Dan Lawrence a little bowl. He's got a 70 odd. He must be feeling good about life.
How does Mr. Lawrence bowl?
I think he's an off spinner, isn't he? I believe.
I did look this up earlier, but I can't remember.
I mean, he's a right arm batsman. I presume he's an off spinner. Oh, that one. Well, Mendes was going back
to all places.
He should have been going forward to that, and he's gone back, and it's turned quite sharply, beating his outside edge, taken by Butler.
It's funny. I didn't know if he was backing away to cut, and then because it spun so sharply, he just looks foolish.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do that. That's straight. That's a decent ball, and he's propped forward and just defends it out into a short cover. No run.
That's what you're talking about, the advantage of facing
Yeah.
the right-handed batsman, because if that ball turns from where he bowled it, that will clip the off stump.
Yes, exactly. You can bowl at the stumps. You bring LBW in. You've got the bowled option. You've got the if it turns sharply and bounces, you've got the option of being caught. So everything's in play. Which is why I think Don Best should really enjoy bowling to left-handers. Leach in a little bit too short. Back goes Mendes. I guess if Mendes isn't as aggressive as Kusal Pereira, then you might get away with more of this stuff that's shorter, and just defends that so there's no run. No, that's got to be close. That's a big appeal for LBW. Oh, I don't mind. I like that, unless you got a bit of an under edge, because no one else seems to be particularly enthused by it.
No, it seems, no real
things. So maybe there was a little bit of an under edge. I thought that pitched on about middle and leg. I'd have reviewed that.
Well,
it was
his
pretty
time
flat.
has been and gone.
Well, the timing has been and gone. I think it must have got an under edge, because no one was interested in the LBW, and I thought it was pretty straight and it was turning. May have probably gone on to hit the stumps. Maybe they'll show us a replay after. Well, we've gone to a break anyway. Any more tweets from people?
No, it's very quiet, but I would like to give a shout out to Stephen Hughes, who is listening from Dublin, where he moved in the last week, I think. So he's now stuck inside his house for 2 weeks to make sure that he is bug free. And he's not able to listen to any other services anymore. So he's been with Guerrilla Cricket the whole time. So thank you for listening, and it's nice to have you with us.
Oh, indeed. Are we due a change now? 10:15. Yes, we are. Are you coming on, Tone?
Didn't we start a bit later?
No, I think Tone's here. Well, we'll keep to the rota.
Okay.
So you're commentating now?
I am commentating then in that case. And Sam Curran, first ball of this over, has been clipped away by Thiramani through the mid-wicket area. Mark Wood just stops it from going over the boundary sponge. But that will be sufficient runs to bring Thiramani's 50. A lovely innings in difficult circumstances. The 8th time that he's passed 50 runs.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely deserves a round of applause from the crowd that isn't there. But
there is the one chap there, our friend, the disc jockey, Randy Caddick. I saw him up on wasn't that him up on the fort earlier?
We did see him.
Yeah.
Whether he's still there or whether he's jobbed the whole thing off, I'm not entirely sure. We haven't really seen him since Root got out. Glory Hunter.
Was it 9 months he's been there?
Well, short pitch delivery by Curran, surprising Mendes, who thinks about hooking, then is not in position to be able to play the shot, and so pulls out and spins around and seems surprised. Sri Lanka 116 for 1, nearly matching their first innings total of 135 all out. Still with lots to do in order to first generate a 4th innings and then a reasonable chase, as that's on Mendes' hip, and he'll turn that behind square on the leg side, and Mendes will jog through to double his total. How are you, Tony? You good?
I am very well. I managed to go and do a little bit of exercise between sessions, so
Did you?
I've managed to sort of wake myself up. That might be dangerous, you could argue, but I have woken myself up.
Were you not awake before?
Well, I think I was. No, I was quite enjoying before. Although I was surprised by England's, the rapidity with which England tumbled.
And that is cut away by Thiramani. Maybe a hand to it by Galle. Certainly the ball is dribbling at a slower pace than it came off the bat. Let's see if that was a drop chance or just good fielding by Sibley. It did seem to fly off the face of the bat. So let's have a look at this. It is gone away. I think this is a drop catch. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
He's got 2 hands to it. 2 hands like his mama taught him, I am sure. And that is, well, would you say that's a pretty easy chance, or is the fact that he's probably
distinctly catchable, but you would expect them to be taken? That's
close
the category
to
I'd pop
maybe
that
a bit close to the bat makes it a bit more difficult. Thiramani went through for a single, and so Mendes faces the next ball from Curran. It just blocks it back to the bowler, and there'll be no run. Yeah, it's in the context of the even though we're comfortably ahead in the Test match, but 118 for 1, you think that could be a real momentum changer in the second innings?
Yeah, I was slightly worried that it was going to be a bit boring, this Test match, because England had such a huge advantage after the first innings, but Sri Lanka have not capitulated at all.
Absolutely not. Mendes drives the ball, Block drives it down the ground, but mid-on is able to not only prevent the 4 but prevent the single as well. So that's the end of the over. 42 in the books, 118 for 1. Tony,
yes, Rennie Keita.
What is the world from outside saying?
Well, Rennie Keita sent us a picture of snow-frosted trees and frozen rooftops. He says minus 10 degrees C. That's 10 degrees warmer than yesterday. Proper winter. Is it Rennie Keita that was saying they're in Helsinki? Are you in Helsinki, Rennie Keita, or are you somewhere else? It's a lovely picture. It's almost Christmassy. Although you don't normally get pictures of tower blocks on Christmas cards, but the snow at least is. Remind us where you are.
Galle looking absolutely gorgeous in the drone photos. I have to say, if I was the one driving the drone, though, I'm not sure I would be trusting it to go that far over the sea, because what happens if it loses power and it just drops into the sea? You're never going to be able to get it back. They're expensive, these drones.
You'll need a new drone.
Yeah, you will. They're braver pilots than I.
So, Katie, while we're talking through Jack Leach's over and Curran's next over, I want to hear about some of your experiences about different places you've gone to watch cricket and which are the best places to go. As Leach's first ball is just blocked by Thiramani.
Well, so I've been to Australia, South Africa and Sri Lanka, the 3 tours that I've done, hoping to go back to Australia again next year. All of them absolutely fantastic. Anyone who hasn't been travelling to watch Test cricket, you're missing out, because it's so much fun and also so much cheaper than watching Test cricket in this country.
Really?
So, honestly, it's you could pay for your hotel and food plus your ticket for the price of a single ticket in this country.
Leach is in again, and this has been reverse swept by Thiramani, and that's taken everybody by surprise, and that's gone for 4 runs. As I wait for my jingler to spun away behind square, and that's gone for 4. So you were in Galle. Was Galle the only place you went to in Sri Lanka, or did you go elsewhere on the island?
So we did the full Test match in Galle, and then 1 day of the Test in Kandy. The problem was that the Sri Lankan Cricket Board are a bit useless at selling tickets. So they were saying for England fans you had to buy a big package, £50 a day or more, in order to get a ticket.
As that's on Thiramani's legs, and he tries to turn that to the leg side, but only finds the fielder, and there's no run.
Which we knew was not going to be true, and that it would be easy enough to get tickets on the day once we got there, but I still didn't really want to take the risk of then having 5 days of not being able to get into the ground. Of course, at Galle, you can sit on the fort, so you don't need a ticket.
Sure enough. Played behind square on the leg side by Thiramani. The gentle ambling of fielders and batsmen alike leads me to believe that there's just a single, and there is, and that will bring Mendes onto strike.
But as it happened, we as I expected, we were able to get into the ground every day, so no problem at all. But
so were you spending more time in the ground or on the fort? Or
We're mostly in the ground, so we settle down to start off watching on the fort, and it gets really quite hot up there because there's no shade and you're right in the sun.
yeah.
And then fortunately one of the press chaps, Lawrence Booth, had a few spare tickets that he was able to give us, and we went in and actually had some nice shade to sit in for most of the rest of the day.
That sounds good to me. As that ball snarls and bites on the pitch and spits away from Mendes, and in the end he's miles away from the outside edge, but that's a genuine play and miss, and well bowled from Leach.
And then the following days, similar. People happened to have, members at Galle had a couple of spare tickets, other press people, so we managed to get in every day on free tickets.
Slightly more pitched up from Leach, and that's just defended resolutely by Mendes, and there's no run again. End of the over, 123 for 1.
A couple of people on YouTube, Gary Wade saying, I love the miss. I don't know if he means the catch or the other half, I don't know. But that's what he said, Gary Wade, I love the miss. Michael Bedford, 111 for 1. Demands umpire levitation. Is that because it's the 1-1-1? 1. Yes,
1-1-1
so.
for 1. Yeah,
1-1-1 for 1, of course. Yes, the leg. Nelson's, etc. Of course.
Yes, we did talk about it. Kate, it's great having Katie here to talk about the stability and the reality that statistics and inference gives you over the idea of superstition. It's marvel.
Mog says, Guerrilla Cricket, look, I cannot in good conscience recommend watching Test cricket in Australia.
Oh no, it's wonderful, Mog. It's brilliant. I can't wait to come back again next year.
I certainly enjoyed watching my Sheffield Shield cricket, but of course there's a very different rhythm and atmosphere to watching Shield cricket over there.
So, Tony.
Hello, yes.
What's it like to watch? I'm assuming watching a Sheffield Shield game is not like watching your average county game.
It is really. It is really. It's not big crowds. I watched Victoria at New South Wales, so I was at the SCG.
Mm-hmm.
Made some very good friends while I was there. I better break off for a second.
Well, no, it's a replay.
Oh, hi.
I do need to tell Bear though that Stuart Broad is about to start his second spell.
Essentially, I was in the bar in the pavilion, made some good friends around the barrel of bullshit, which is on one of the barrels that is at the front of the pavilion in the bar, looking out onto the pitch, and was basically fairly pissed by the time I left. Having made some good friends, talk cricket, and watch some good cricket along the way. So yes, it's not at all unlike county cricket in many ways.
I was going to say, sounds like a good day, that, to be honest. Sounds like a good day all round. Cobra Kai's favourite bowler, Stuart Broad, about to resume.
Sweep the leg, Broady. Got the best headband around.
Coming outside around the wicket to Thiramani. Online, good, nice forward defensive shot by Thiramani, no run.
Even though your hair is thinning now.
Had his problems against swing bowling in the past, but we haven't really seen too much.
Curran did at the beginning of the innings get a bit of swing.
Anderson particularly is taunted Thiramani.
But it's all out of the hand, rather than late swing or movement off the pitch, so maybe slightly easier to diagnose. Broad comes in again, and that is spearing in towards middle and leg stump, and Thiramani adjusts himself to be able to play a forward defensive shot straight down the ground, and there'll be no run. It just looks so amazing that it's like as if they got no further than the beach and went, well, what we need is a cricket pitch.
Yeah.
I think it might be worth describing it actually for anyone who's not seen the pictures, because I didn't have a clue what it was like until I actually got there, maybe in between balls.
Yeah, sure. And that is slightly outside off stump, and Thiramani half drives, half plays a defensive shot, but straight up point, and there's no run. Katie.
So the old city of Galle is built on a smallish peninsula sticking out south into the Indian Ocean. It's an old Portuguese fort originally. It's got gorgeous old walls that go all the way around the sea and also across the peninsula to the north, if you can imagine that. And then just beyond that, in the neck of the peninsula, you've got the cricket ground, which basically fills up the entire neck. There's just space for a road between the cricket ground and the beach on each side. And that kind of blocks off the whole of the fort of Galle.
Just outside off stump, Thiramani leans back in his crease, but defensive shot can't penetrate the ring of cover fielders, and there's no run.
It's a natural heritage site, isn't it, Katie? The fort.
Yes, yeah, it is. But it's a living city. People live in there. There's lots of shops and restaurants and things. It's a wonderful place to stay because it's just that, because it's so old and small. It's just that little bit less frenetic than the centre of most Sri Lankans.
Sounds amazing.
So you can actually walk around without being run over slightly more easily. But yeah, it's a gorgeous place. It's quite Mediterranean.
Thiramani again tries to push the ball through the covers. Point does the work. No run, just one ball left of the over.
It'd be a lovely place for a holiday, even if there wasn't any cricket there. And then you've got this stunning international cricket ground right on the doorstep. So really, if anyone ever gets a chance to go to Galle, definitely take it. It's a fantastic place to have a holiday.
It became a cricket stadium in 1927, I think, having been a racecourse from 1876.
Well, I live close to Britain's shortest racetrack, Chester. As Broad does the work off his own fielding, and there's no run, and that's the last ball of the over. I can't imagine how short that racetrack would be if that was a racecourse beforehand. Because Chester's about a mile for a circuit.
I'm sort of stuck between lots of racecourses. I've got Sandown literally just round the corner, Kempton Park up the road, Ascot not too far away in the other direction. Renny Kita is telling us he lives in Turku, southwest of Finland. Actually, our normal winters are slush and ice on the pavement. Spike shoes are recommended. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Helsinki, Renny Kita, not so much outside of Helsinki, sadly. Angelic Scutus says it's amazing how cheap cricket can be when it's played in stadiums to meet or exceed supply. True enough. And that is very true of the Sheffield Shield, certainly from the experiences I had.
I want to be the last person to be able to wish Angelic Scutus a happy birthday. Leach,
did I miss on saying that?
With a looped delivery just outside off stump, he does give it a bit more air than Root and Bess, I think. Mendes tries to drive the ball, but only finds point, and there'll be no run. 123 for one, Sri Lanka, trailing by 163 again. Plenty of air, and it dips in on Mendes, but he's able to push the ball through to mid-off, and is able to run through for a single. That'll move him on to 3.
Now, somebody else also has a birthday today, but I guess I should wait till the end of the over to...
tell us now.
Okay. It is Farong's birthday, our regular listener, Farong.
Oh, happy birthday, Farong.
He's even tells us his age. He's opened a double malt Chivas to celebrate his 52nd day of birth. Happy birthday to you, Farong. I hope the Cherries win today, he says, through gritted teeth. But providing Watford win, I hope Bournemouth win as well.
Seems fair enough. Outside of Thiramani's off stump, tries to drive the ball, can't get it past mid-off, and so there'll be no run. Thiramani 57 not out. Took a bit of a secondary role while his partner was in, Pereira, at the beginning of the innings, but he's tried to reverse sweep that. Hasn't quite got hold of it, but a safe shot nevertheless, as Root scampers from leg slip in order to be able to do the work. And Thiramani will move to 59.
Top edgy, wasn't it?
You would have thought that they'd abandoned the reverse sweep after two of their batsmen got out to it in the first inning.
Oh, it went well for Root though. He played plenty of them.
He did. Yeah. It's all about context. Leach in again, but that's on Thiramani's legs, and he'll steer that behind square on the leg side. Backward square will dive and limit things to a single.
I do wonder a little bit whether part of England's lower order collapse was because everyone had been sitting there watching Root playing it like it was so easy, and went out there thinking, oh well, if he can do it that easily, then I'll be fine too. And
that's why I felt a bit sorry for Sam Curran as Leach comes in again and short of a length, and Mendes looks to rock back and cut, but can only find
No, there was a little bit of
fielder.
movement in the air, I think, for the
There
ball
was-
that did for Curran, wasn't there?
The ball that did for Curran would have done for most top order batsmen, even if they were well set in their innings. Yorker length delivery, started outside off stump, swung in, and a little bit of pad on the way, but just too good. And you must look at it and go, there's been nothing like that ball for the whole of the innings, and I get that first up. What on earth's going on? 127 for 1 Sri Lanka, 45 overs are gone. Thiramani 60, Mendes 3. And Mendes will remember that 3, I think, for the rest of his career.
There was a wry smile on his face when he tickled that first one to leg and jogged the single there. He was trying to be cool, but I'm sure deep inside he was going, thank God for that.
Yeah, just a bit. You hate to think too much about things that should come naturally. As Broad comes in, and that is hustling Thiramani. Seems to hustling for a bit of pace.
You have a knuckle stat.
Broad is going to go over the wicket as opposed to around the wicket. Go on, let's have I haven't had a knuckle stat today.
Do we have time?
Yeah.
It's not the briefest of stats.
Oh well, what are we talking about here?
Well, okay, I'll start it and then we have to stop. We will. Of 458 Test batters, positions 1 to 7, who've made 8 or more Test 50s, only 5, are you following me, have a lower average than Lahiri Thiramani's 23.2.
Broad in, but that's on the pads of Thiramani, and he'll clip that down to fine leg, where Lawrence will do the fielding, but there'll just be a single.
I can tell you who they are as well. Javed Omar.
All the batsmen who have faced more than 8 innings,
458 Test batters in
1 to
positions
7.
1 to 7, who've made 8 or more Test 50s, so they have to have made 8 Test 50s. Only 5 have a lower average. So out of 458 in the criteria, only 5 have a lower average than Lahiri Thiramani.
So he manages to get to hundreds often enough to be within that, but he doesn't get many other scores.
He's 750s, 100. This is it. So that it's.
Sorry,
But there's, I think Thiramani though, with another knuckle stat, isn't he the most dropped and recalled opening batsman in Test history? Isn't that something that?
He's certainly been in and out a fair bit. Yes.
We'd have to change his name to Okikoki if it was that he was in and out anymore. Anyway, Mendes will face the third ball of this over from Broad, and he kicks his back leg out to some ungainly angle in order to be able to play the ball with a straight bat. It does look like a man who's fighting his own technique a little bit, Mendes, at the moment, but he plays that defensively and there's no run, and he'll remain on 3. So who's the king of that knuckle stat then? Who's got the lowest average?
Let's wait till this ball and then I'll reel them off for you.
As Broad comes in, and again he's pushing and lurching for the ball rather than really letting it come to him, but that again defensively played, mid-on does the fielding and there'll be no run.
There's only 2 names on the list I would claim that I know well.
Okay.
One I know very well. Javed Omar, he's not one of the ones I know well. Mike Brearley,
I know him.
who obviously we do. Dion Ibrahim,
Don't know him.
you have to wait for the last 2 till after the next ball.
Oh my god, you're like a cliffhanger, aren't you? You're a walking cliffhanger. Broad in again, and Mendes just lets that ball go through to Butler.
Okay,
it was
I go
the
Dion
put-
Ibrahim, Alec Bannerman.
Is that Bannerman of the original Test match? Bannerman.
It looks like a New Zealand flag. Oh no, is that an Aussie flag? Knuckle, tell us. And the final one, a West Indian, a very well-known West Indian indeed, Derek Murray.
There you go.
I suspect none of them are aware of their position on that list.
I would
I could be
doubt-
wrong.
And that's a bit more on off stump making Mendes play with that last ball of the over. However, he plays it defensively, straight down the ground, easily fielded, no run, 128 for 1.
Angelic Scutus. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I was
yes,
going to say.
no. Angelic Scooters. Thanks, everyone. Feeling very loved by the Guerrilla Cricket community today.
As we love you too, mate.
Enjoying his. Dr. Leonie Hicks has very kindly sent us the UNESCO listing for Galle, which I shall open up and have a look at in a wee while. Farong had said, afternoon all. Oh no, that was about his birthday. We've already done that. Messi Jerseys wishing Farong a very happy birthday. Bill Riquier is saying Galle is wonderful. Make sure you go to Y House, a 15-minute tuk-tuk ride away for dinner of an arak sour. Make sense, Katie?
No, I missed that, but it sounds intriguing.
Leach will continue, and that is wrapped ceremony on the pads, and he looks to all ends up like he should be LBW.
Leach went full broad there. He was like, it was a fusion.
I think this is going to get reviewed.
Yeah.
And it is reviewed. I can't for the world of me think why that's not out.
We'll see. So yeah, no, he was absolutely.
That was out. That was definitely out.
Was that definitely out?
I don't know.
So let's have a look at this again. Let's count off the ways in which he could be not out. So it looks like it's pitching more or less in line. I can see off stump. Well,
That
part
might
of
be
off
turning
stump.
I think
too
it
much.
pitched marginally outside off, but he was playing
But
across
he's
the line.
he's certainly in line with the stumps where it hits his leg.
Yeah.
So there's no problem about that. So the only problem, like you said, Katie, is that it might be just be turning a bit too much. And either umpires call him missing down the leg side. I'm going to turn to my spin expert, who's just off camera at the moment.
Argue a change. Oh no, not for 5 minutes. We're okay.
Well, it might have just taken a little bit of a nibble on the edge, and as Katie says, it might just be turning a bit too much.
Umpire Bear would give that not out or out.
Well, I was going up for an appeal, so I'd certainly be appealing it, and I would be thinking it's out, but we will find out on DRS. And it's a question of see, on that view, it looks like he might have taken a little nibble on the inside edge. But we shall see. They're very slow getting the cameras up here.
Yeah. The way they pan to some other shots, it does look sometimes like it's like, have you made a decision and just not told us, or?
England looking very grumpy. The three of them in a row there, all with their arms folded, almost like they're challenging. Is it Mr. Pellegaruga or Kumar Dharmasena?
Well,
Here we go.
Yeah,
so we'll first of all have a look at the edge, and looks like there's nothing on ultra edge.
No sound.
Oh, that's going to be. It's going to be very, very close.
But it may be umpires called in just shading.
I don't think.
Turning
I think
too
if
much.
it's not out, I think England will definitely retain the review.
I think so. It's certainly not going to go over. It's the angle that's come off the pitch has not. It's not
height's
jumped.
fine.
I mean, Jack Reach is not the most demonstrative of people, and that's probably the most animated I have ever seen him. Annie, who sees him far more than I do, and is on next, can know whether that's right or wrong. But boy, did he believe he had it. It's missing. Look at that, and height as well.
And height! I would never
Extraordinary.
have thought that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm not an umpire.
Well.
That's bounced like a tennis ball. Consider us all surprised as England have lost their first of their 3 reviews. So not only was it missing leg stump, it was going over missing in terms of line and length. It was bouncing considerably over the top. And see that cocky smile there from the umpire, like, yeah, challenge me, eh?
Mr. Pellegaruga.
Leach in again, and that is down the leg side, and Thiramani plays and misses, and it ends up in the gloves of Bottler, and there'll be no run.
Who, by the way, had a first-class bowling average of 23.
That's not bad.
220 wickets and a best of 6 for 26.
Slightly flatter and quicker, and Thiramani has top-edged that paddle sweep. Definitely a false shot there. There'll be a single. He'll move to 62.
You always slightly wonder if bowlers, umpires who were bowlers, even subconsciously slightly see the world through different eyes to umpires who were batsmen. No, he was very much on the batsman's side there, and he got it bang on. So full credit to him.
There's a great statistical analysis about baseball umpires about what they call as a ball and a strike depending on the count. As Mendes rocks back in his crease and away to leg in order to be able to try and cut the ball, but he can't find a way past point, and there'll be no run. That the strike zone increases or decreases depending whether the call is favourable to the batsman. Now that's just missed the outside edge of Mendes' bat. He's reached forward for a defensive shot, but that's spun away in fairly much the way that the first delivery would have done if it hadn't hit Thirumani's pad.
I have a feeling that one could bring two, could bring three at the moment, don't you? But they need the one.
Far more dangerous as the spinners, as Mendes tentatively pushes and prods at the last delivery of the over, and there'll be no run.
Now, we're due a change at 10:45. It's 10:44.
Do you want to change now?
I think we should, because by the end of the over, by the end of this, it will be that. So I believe you will be enticed and delighted by Al on ball by ball. Sorry, I'm telling you, Bear on ball by ball. Annie on tweets, and Al is moving into the summariser's chair.
Yes, I am.
Well, yeah.
Hang on. What is? Oh, it's been given us a no ball.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do that last ball as well then. It's disappeared. Sorry, it's been left alone. Mendes went back to cut it, didn't cut it, and it went through the button. No run. And goodbye to Tony for a little bit. Hello, Annie. And
hello.
Goodbye, Dr. Katie.
Hey, Annie.
Hey. Well.
They're doing all right, aren't they?
Isn't it good to see Mendes get
off the mark?
Zero.
28 balls to get 3. It's still a bit stodgy. And Thirumani should have
that really matters, though, does it?
Thirumani
really.
should have been caught. Just feel that if we can get 3 wickets, I think things will start to accelerate. But they batted well. They are at home.
Yeah, they need to get another 300 and something, don't they?
Oh yeah, I mean they've got to get a similar. I mean, even if they got equalled our first inning score 421, we'd only need 135.
I won't want to get any more than 200 on.
No,
forth, but
driven.
Well, the pitch doesn't seem to have.
It's not breaking up yet. We're
breaking up much.
We're only on day 3, 2.5 really. As that's driven up to mid off Broad as he bowls to Thirumani and there's no run. And the odd one does break the surface and spit. I mean, certainly in the last 2 or 3 overs, a couple from Leach have gone a long way. So it will get harder to bat on, no doubt about it. Thirumani faces up and Broad bowls in at the stumps. It's defended up to mid on, and there is no run. We've got any social? Is there anyone out there? Anybody out there?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where we were before. Did we get Bill Rickier?
What did he say?
Saying Galle is wonderful.
I think
Make
we did.
sure you go to a Y house.
Yes, we did. Have
you
that
did
one.
get that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he then says you can Google Y house.
I might give it a go. Broad in, and it's come back over the wicket to Thirumani, who just defends that. And there's no run. The pitch does seem to have slowed up a fair bit. I mean, it was slow to start with,
but not broken.
No, it's not broken. Not yet. Well, it's been quite humid and damp, hasn't it? I wonder if that's kept it together a bit rather than it being hot and dry. No sun beating down on it. It's been quite cloudy.
So many tests I've done recently that where the second innings score is higher than the first innings. It's a really weird turnaround.
Yeah, Broad around the wicket again. I think it's a slower ball, cutter. Didn't seem very fast at all. Driven at 78 miles an hour. It was driven at cover. I think it was aerial for a little while, but certainly bounced way before the cover. There's no run. Still 156 behind. It can all go pear-shaped from here, you know.
Oh God, yeah.
Absolutely. But at least they've given themselves a foundation. That if they're patient enough and good enough.
That's why it doesn't really matter if Mendes takes 28 balls to get 3. I mean, as long as he keeps staying there for a while and
exactly.
A bit.
We just saw Bess warming up. Broad is in, bowl short at Thirumani, goes through the butler, he just ducks underneath it. It's very short. He's 75 miles an hour.
I'm going to be interested, whether it's in this session or the one, the last one of the day for us. I'm going to be, your analysis of what Bess was doing and not doing there was really quite insightful. So I'm going to be able to watch his.
Bear was insightful.
I hate to say it. I've actually seen Bear be Nostradamus Bear.
Have you?
Yeah. He correctly predicted
Was
in
it
a 1 day.
Hunchback?
Honestly, it was amazing. He said Adil Rashid's going to bowl a googly and bowl him, and he did it exactly the next ball.
You know you're spin bowling, don't you?
I
Ben?
did it in the IPL as well, and I will tell you exactly what happened. Broad is in, and it's defended up to mid-on. There's no one. I can't remember who the bowler was, but I was on with an Indo, and look, obviously he's a man who writes about spin. And I think Kieran Pollard came into bat, and they needed an extraordinary number of runs, and he'd only faced one ball, and I think it might have been Ashwin bowling. And I said to an Indo, I said, look, Kieran's going to want to smash this out of the park. I'll give it a little bit of air, get it above the eye line, hopefully get him caught down at long on as he mishits it. And that's exactly what happened about 10 seconds later.
I would have just dropped the mic. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what I said,
Brilliant.
I may not have been able to do it myself, but I could always think it.
I don't know if people have mentioned the birds a lot, but do you think that
do they seem a bit foreboding to you?
Well,
Annie?
I think they're definitely adding in number, but do you think they put the fielders off at all?
I think they're just a bit menacing, full stop.
I think I have noticed there's quite a lot of them, unlike the pigeons at the Oval, all driven into the shins of whoever. It's not Bairstow anymore, I don't think.
They don't seem to want to rush away, do they?
No, they don't as much. Well, they're slower as well. I mean, those egrets have got really long legs and big flappy wings. They're not the
Ball
quickest to
goes
take off.
under them.
Yeah.
We all know from seagulls on the UK coast, birds that are on the coast, they're a bit loopy, aren't they?
Yeah,
a bit hard.
Yeah, they are. That's true. Oh, now that's gone up in the air. No one's going to get there. What a shame. Kiesel Mendes has gone to sweep that. He's got a big top edge. It's gone miles up in the air. If there had been a man on the 45, he'd have just
Mendes,
wandered
we can see
underneath
why
it.
you keep getting ducks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's
The look on Leach's face looks like he needs reassurance. Is what I'll say. He looks disappointed.
Well, you would be.
I mean, he's miles ahead of that, isn't he? He's barely got that on the tail end of the bat.
Exactly. It's spat a little bit out of the ground and taken the cue end of the bat. But it's just gone into no man's land. There's no one there. He scratches his head.
Unlucky, but
yeah,
he's been everything that you wanted Best to be, but wasn't. Leach has done what you wanted your spin bowler to do. Right?
Yeah, he's been a lot more consistent than Bess. I'll give Bess another go. I mean, he's capable.
Oh God, you got him. But I just wanted to compare and contrast the two.
Yeah, that's on the hip of Thiramani. It's two-leg siding. He just clips it down behind square, and there will be a single.
Well, maybe they don't want them both doing the same. Maybe they've been deliberately told.
Well,
it could be.
No, but that's not
conspiracy
how it works, though.
Sorry.
You don't get told how to bowl. You should know how to bowl. You know, you should have a plan in your head as a spin bowler. I think you should have a plan in your head about how this guy's going to play and what the ball should be doing and where you think it should be pitching, and then you try and get that as your stock. That's spun sharply, but it's a bit too short. It's been cut by Mendes out towards the point boundary. It's chased down and they'll get back for two, I think.
Another run for him.
Yeah, another run.
Another couple.
He's
He's bowling like this in India will get fucking taken apart. And you won't see this many loose balls from Ashwin and Jadeja.
No, well, I hope
That's if they're both
Jadeja's,
bowling and not injured, of
that's
course.
better.
I mean, Jadeja may well be out the first test. He's got a dislocated something, or I don't think his thumb or something.
That's such a shame
yeah,
that
it is.
he got injured like that.
I know, defended back down the track and there's no run. I didn't see how it happened. I presume he got hit when he was batting.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been hit when they've been batting. So Leach around the wicket. into the legs, and Mendes just defends it out on the leg side. There's no run. That ends the over. 49 gone, 134 for 1. Mendes is on 6. Thiramani's on 63. He's been dropped not that long ago.
Bill Ricker says Iraq Sour, the sundowner of choice. Apparently, I must have missed a bit of a thread about this, but Knackle says Alec Bannerman was the younger brother of Charles, who faced the first ball in Test cricket, scored the first Test 100, and still holds the record for the highest percentage of a completed Test innings.
Yep.
It's good to have you back, Knackle, giving us
even
lots
remotely,
of
exactly.
stats and stuff. He's also saying, while Charles was a dasher, Alec was a blocker. And because there is nothing new in cricket, the cricketing public of the 1880s complained bitterly about it. On another note, 100 plus has only been successfully chased once at Galle. Gosh. Yeah, but I'm sure the pitch must have broken up a bit more before. Anyway.
We're only halfway through the test. There's a lot of way to go.
All the games that have been played.
No.
Yeah, and it hasn't had the sun baking down and drying it out, and it's been quite damp. Broad is in. It's slow though, and that's very full. He certainly decided that bowling at full tilt is not worth the effort because he's bowling below 80 miles an hour. That was very full. I think he was trying to bowl a cut. There's a little smile on his face, and there's no run. Yeah. As we see, Kusal Pereira cutting. That was Sam Curran's expression after.
It was the look on the whole team's face.
They were very pleased with that wicket.
Of just well, obviously we planned for that.
Yeah. Oh, and he's trying to throw up Yorkers. It's Brody right in a block hole there. Thiramani jabs it out. 74 miles an hour, and there's no run. Yeah, he's just dropped his pace and trying for accuracy here, I think. It's a good ball, very good ball.
And well defended as well.
Yeah, well dug out.
Well dug out.
Broad at the end of his run. Up to the stumps, bowled, and it's defended. Back down the track once more by Thiramani.
You think Broad's headband's a superstition thing?
I think you could be right.
I just can't see why he's wearing it else. Apart from to stop sweat going in his eyes, I suppose.
Well, I suppose that's it, yeah. I mean, it was clearly to keep the floppy hair out of his eyes in the summer.
I asked the question to Katie and to David earlier on. Annie, have you got you and the family, have you got superstitions and stuff?
No, not really. No. I do know of somebody that is one of those people that has to, if he ever leaves anywhere, he always has to come back. So it's a bugger when he goes out to the wicket, because he walks out to the wicket, then comes back in, and then goes back out again.
How weird.
Yeah.
That's the ball was just defended out into the leg side to mid wicket. There's no run.
I like the way that superstition covers all modes of eccentricity from the mild to that sounds pretty extreme. No,
he was completely bizarre. He always, if he left a room, he'd always come back and say, "Oh, I left my wallet," even though he hadn't.
Down leg side, Broad's coming around the wicket again, and just down the leg side. Thiramani tries to chase it, doesn't get anything on it, goes through the Butler, and there's no run.
Yeah, I love the superstitions. The things that like Jack Russell and other people have that are very weird and just there's lots of them, aren't there?
Yeah.
It's when you watch people almost become suffocated and strangled by them. You know that it becomes something that starts to harm rather than hurt. You know.
I have to salute when I see a magpie, but that's nothing to do with cricket.
Is it Good Morning, Mr. Magpie?
Yeah. I have to do that.
Last ball of the over, Broad is over the wicket, and back to over the wicket. Thiramani just defends it out to cover this time. There's no run. Everyone seems to have slowed down. There's still an hour or so to go.
I think there's drinks.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to go and get one myself then.
I'm going to just read a few tweets. I've got a very nice one from Francis Brett, who says, Can I thank Annie for everything she does for county cricket? Love the pics of the outgrounds. Oh, thank you, Francis. That's very kind of you.
I loved what you did in December with your advent calendar. I thought that was ace. I didn't submit any guesses, Annie, but I want you to know I was 0 for 24.
Really?
0.
Well, it's just funny when you do something that's nobody can criticise you because it's your own personal preference, isn't it? So
absolutely.
So it was just, I thought if I do something that that is a definite thing, people will be coming and going, oh no, you can't do that, you can't say that person didn't get this or anything. So I thought, right, I'm just going to do the people I like. And I just wanted to highlight the county cricket players that were real proper county cricket players. So it was fun. It was a lot of work in the end.
Yeah, I think it seemed like it was the thing that seemed like a good idea on like the 1st and 2nd of December, but like on the 23rd, it's like, why is this part of my life?
But so one guy did get a free subscription to County Cricket Matters.
Well, how lucky he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Mog says, when can we expect photos of people in their new Redbubble purchase gorilla shirts, leggings and shower curtains? Yeah, come. I don't know, Bear, have we had any orders for any of our merchandise?
Jay bought a shower curtain.
With a big gorilla on it?
Yeah.
God bless
Well,
him.
no, I don't know which one he bought. He might have bought the Gorilla Cricket one. He might have bought... We got up there. No, I think he bought the Beards one. The Beard Shall Be Revered.
Yeah. But I like the bath mat beard one.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? See, there you go. That's just what you need for your house.
Oh, absolutely. Mog says that I suspect
I'll translate. Not a chance.
Mog says, I suspect the birds are there to feast on the soon-to-be bloated corpse of Sri Lankan cricket.
Oh dear.
They're doing all right. They're doing all right.
Every time I see that wicket, I got a hankering for Sam's chicken. I don't know why, honestly. I also see that it's Uber Eats, but I'm not sure that they'll deliver to the Wirral, to be honest. All the way.
Not all the way from there, no.
Yeah.
Knuckle also points us to something Nick Friend says. If Tirumani passes 64, it'll be his highest test score in 8 years and 55 innings.
Oh, that's bound to happen then, because he's playing England. And
I think he might have got there, I think.
Yeah, we missed that.
Yeah. Well, he's there or thereabouts anyway, so...
He's certainly in
vicinity.
60s, isn't he?
He's 63.
Ah, well, what a timely reminder. Thank you, Knuckle.
He's bound to do it then. It's against us, as I said. We finally getting back to cricket. They seem to have slowed up very much here.
They decided to extend the break while you just to make sure that you were back.
Well,
Yeah, they didn't want to do any jingles without, you to miss a jingle or anything.
do you think that's the posh part of Galle? That little outcrop there?
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Is it?
I was asking. Do you think?
Oh,
Possibly.
It looks like a lovely place to live.
certainly does.
Well,
I don't know
Katie's
if...
description of it was amazing.
Yeah, she loves it there, doesn't she?
And the Indian Ocean's lovely. Have you ever been in the Indian Ocean? It's so warm. It's ridiculous. It's like a bath. It's great.
Don't. Oh, that's so nice.
I'm always fascinated by the people who like go in, swim in Hyde Park Lake and things like that, or
Yeah,
go into
exactly.
the sea. Like New Year's Day, I'm gonna have a swim in the sea, and it's just like,
I mean,
I've got friends who do
should
that, and they say it's just totally exhilarating, and I just think I could not get past my ankles. I cannot.
well, you've got to
see.
jump in. There's no other way of doing it. You can't go in gradually. That's madness. That way lies. It's torture.
I don't think there's anyone in the middle, but
The shock of getting in, I think I'd just pass out.
I remember I used to go swimming at Brixton Lido when it first reopened when I lived down that way, and it was probably mid-90s. And you go in at the beginning of the year, and it was so cold you couldn't hold your breath under the water for a good 2 or 3 lengths, just because it took that long to warm up. You just run out of breath as soon as you put your head under the water.
your boy's bowling.
I know, Bess is back. I'll give him
Hey.
his jingle again. Here we go.
Come on, do some good balls. Let's not have Bear getting all grumpy.
Well, he does good balls. He just doesn't do enough of them.
Isn't good for pace. Get this lad on his bowling's ace. But if you need someone who bats, you should just save Tom Best for last.
Now I don't mind this line of attack. He's come around the wicket, give it a try. He's got a leg slip and a short leg. And to Coastal Mendes, the right-hander.
Well, he stuck his hands up like.
Well, I think he got a thick inside half of the bat, didn't he? I mean, he was quite on top of it.
Yeah, it seemed to be.
But it was aerial. It went wide of short leg, but it was in the air. There's a good chance it will always go in the air around there. It's a question of does it go to the man?
Yeah. Hit the man and then it's got to stick, right?
Well, exactly. So the lefty, he's got a slip and a short leg. And that's a little bit too short. And it's been played out to cover. Not very well timed by Thiramani, no run.
Come on, he's on his nervous 63, that's why.
That's right. I don't know what his highest test score is, but 64. I haven't got more than 64 in 8 years. Well, that could explain why he's in and out of the side, really, couldn't it?
It's definitely over 100. He's got 1 century. That's his highest test score overall. But as Knackle said, he hasn't scored more than 60. Was it 64 for
more
8
than
years?
60 if he passes 64. So yeah, he's got.
Just defended on the back foot to short leg, and there's no run.
He needs to get a couple in this over.
Now looking at what Root was bowling, I didn't see the Root was when I had my eyes shut. That's a decent delivery. That's on Midland leg, turning, good length, bringing him forward. He just defends it out on the offside and there's no run. Just need to keep it. I mean, to a certain degree, it's about building confidence as well in your own thing. As a spin bowler, you really don't want to go for runs. And there's nothing more annoying as a spin bowler than just constantly being knocked around for singles. Defended into the offside by Thiramani. Best goes across and fields his own bowling. There's no run. You know, go for 2 overs for a couple of runs, and one of them's a maiden. You feel, you're in your rhythm.
Well, that only went for 1.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That wasn't a bad
And
over. There wasn't
seemed to
anything too short there.
Yeah, it seemed to be okay. So more of that from Mr. Best.
Just keep Bear quiet, and that's
and also
all
it's
that,
different
really,
batsmen. I mean, I think Kusal Pereira would have cut a couple of those balls harder, which means they'll go out to the cover, and that'll be the single. Whereas Thiramani doesn't seem to want to go back and cut as hard. So you've probably got a slight bigger sort of variance in what you can get away with.
Phil Withell says a mug, my kingdom for a mug.
Get one of them.
Get on and buy one.
All designs.
Leah says Rahul Dravid would have been wasted on cricket fans in the 1880s. The bastards don't deserve him. Nobody deserves Dravid. I loved watching Dravid.
He was great.
And Woy Pommer says, are they superstitions or just habits? That's I don't know the difference really.
The idea that you form a habit specifically with the idea that it brings you luck or avoids bad luck. So a superstition.
That's a superstition.
Habit.
So I salute a magpie to avoid bad luck.
Is it just the implication that some unnamed bad luck will befall you?
I guess.
We start another over, and Leach has bowled that in at leg stump. That's pitched outside leg stump, straightened a lot. Mendes was right on top of it and covered it. Scoring rates come down as well. If you can get on top of the scoring rate, that creates a little bit of pressure as well. You know what I mean? It's all these things in tandem. I mean, Sri Lanka never did it to us. Let's be fair. That's why it looked so
really
easy.
And Mendes, let's face it, is in. Has his own pressures anyway at the moment. So.
You've got to create the pressure to get the wicket. I mean, England were always able to, after we lost those first 2 wickets, once Root and Bairstow got in initially on that first evening, that's defended out in the offside and there's no run. They just cruise along at 3.5 and over. Always an out shot. The bowling wasn't particularly great. Again, it's not just us. There are plenty of, it's not an easy wicket to get it just right on. Leach around the wicket, tosses that out. That's a good ball. A little bit more towards middle stump would be better. Defended on the leg side and there's no run. And so if you can get a couple of overs like this and finally create some pressure, maybe something comes, you know.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Four identical balls of 83 kilometres an hour.
Exactly, and again, you know, and they're you can see that they're, oh god, and no, it's not going to be an overthrow.
No, I think that's
you can see they're trying to, maybe they've thought about this and thought, if we can create a little bit of pressure here, because this line, he's not bowled this line previously, he's bowling in at leg stump. I think he's hoping for a wonder ball that's going to well, because the ones that are, I suppose the ones that are pitching on sort of middle and off, they're turning too far. So he's trying to bowl it straighter and trying to get that to happen from there. Giezel Mendes facing up. That's a decent ball on middle stump. This is a good over from Leach. 5 dot balls so far. No, 6 dot balls. An amazing
6 dot balls.
Good ball. Good over. Good over.
Good. A good over. Messenger says, I already have my bootleg mug, as does Gorilla Towers, and he's done a little picture of it.
Yep, I've been drinking out of it.
Leah says, I need you to offer doormats and the King Coley design to confuse my stupid neighbour.
Okay, don't do doormats, but you could put out a bath mat as a doormat. And I've got the King Coley design, I just haven't uploaded it yet. So that'll be up there, don't you worry.
Mog says bootleg gorilla merchandise, the mind boggles.
Derek Trotter.
Bess, decent ball and driven back by Thirumani. Thought about a run if it had gone past Bess, but no, gave that a bit of air, maybe a little bit too full, but he'd rather they were driving than cutting. Bess bowls. And again, driven. Ooh. Best goes across some fields once again off his own bowling. As Thirumani just pushes it back down the track, he has to go across and push Giezel Mendes out of the way to get there. Driven this time. And driven.
Is he going to get 65?
Oh, he is.
Yes.
He's going to go for 4.
He's going
to move on to 67. A beautiful shot.
He's scoring 8.
Full. Good drive through the covers. And they know. And it's been driven out to the extra cover boundary for 4.
Now my innings going. Great guns. I hit the ball. 4 runs. I hit the ball and it went for 4 runs.
See, I don't mind that so much. That's not a bad ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't really mind that sort of shot, do you?
No, that's it. That's what frustrates me about it. I don't want to be cut. I'd rather be driven. Because you're not very fast as a spinner. And again, that's driven in the offside and there's no run. So if you're short and the wicket's sitting up, you're just asking to be hit. And they can hit you. If a good batsman will hit you wherever the fuck he likes, you know.
I have one more spin-related question I'll ask you in just a second.
Bess, that's full again. That's much better over.
Yeah, and, so much better.
Is there a difference in mentality then between an off spinner and a leg spinner, or is it just?
Well, I can't say because I've never been an off spinner. But my only knowledge of that would be as a left armer bowling over the wicket to a left-handed batsman. I find it extraordinarily frustrating. I don't know why anyone would be an off spinner. It's defended in the offside and there's no run. But clearly there are good ones lying. You know, see, I used to do it so rarely. I guess you've got to think of strategies to get people out when you're bowling that way. But
my son's an off spinner. He usually gets the most wickets in the side over the season. So
that's good.
Farong says, don't forget to set your alarm for 8 a.m. next Wednesday, as West Indies will battle against the mighty Tigers of Bangladesh from Mopur in the first ODI. Maybe I'll commentate to myself, he said. I'm looking forward to that. I think two sides that I really want to watch.
Make sure that you're connected with Mash and his Caribbean cricket podcast. That I've learned more listening to that about Caribbean cricket than I thought I'd ever know.
Leach, that's a horrible ball. Full toss at leg stump. I think he was trying something there. That is a nasty ball. Knee high full toss. It's been slapped what it deserved out to the mid wicket boundary for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I like the fact they didn't try and hit that too hard.
No, didn't need to.
He's just guided that into a safe part of the field.
Yeah. Got it in the gap. It's a gimme.
Yeah.
It's come out of hand wrong. 143 for 1. They trail by 143. They're exactly halfway there.
Yeah.
Where they need to be to make England ban again, and they only lost 1 wicket, so this is going well. Tossed up outside the off stump, and
that's the type of ball that makes you think that there's a wonder ball out there, isn't it? Because it's like, well, if I can get it to do that, if it pitches on leg, then
yes, exactly.
It's unplayable.
Inevitably, it doesn't do what you want it to do from the line that you want it to do it from. But yeah, that's the theory. Leach around the wicket. It's on middle stump, just knocked into a vacant mid wicket. And there is a single as Stuart Broad just lumbers around from mid on. Everyone's going really slowly.
It's only because you're used to BBL.
No, I swear the game was moving along. There was more.
Yeah,
overs were going quicker. I mean, you got
England
two spinners on it. You should be zipping through. I mean, you've had apart from that 4 in the last over and that 4 at the beginning of this over. Most of it's been dot balls. It seems to go very slowly. Leach into Thirumarni. Spears it in at leg stump, turns further. And Butler takes pretty well, actually, and there's no run. I mean, I used to get through my overs really quick. I used to just get to my mark, turn around and run in again.
Yeah.
I don't want to bowl slow overs. That's clipped into the leg side to mid wicket and there's no run. Again, I guess that's part putting pressure on the. If you can get dot balls, then you're back in. I mean, you look at Jadeja gets through and over in fucking no time whatsoever.
No.
Takes him about a minute and a half to bowl 6 dot balls, and that's it. Clipped into the leg side, down through to mid on, who's halfway out back to the boundary, and that ends the over with a single, 145 for 1. Is there any social? Any social?
Oh yeah, Knuckle says this may have been brought up already, but on CricViz's expected wicket model, the balls Dom Best bowled in the first innings would on average net him 0.18 wickets.
That's brilliant. I don't know how the fuck they work that out.
The biggest gap between expected and actual in the CricViz database for an England spinner. This was something my son was talking about earlier on.
Is that what they're going to do with statistics now? That they're going to look at they're going to look at every batsman and every ball and every field and.
If that was me, I'd be proud of that. I'd be like, yeah, fuck you, statistics.
CricViz have a wealth of interesting stats.
Bess is around the wicket to Thirumarni, who just jabs that out to cover. No run.
I can see that they've got the data to be able to produce the statistic, but I just don't see what use the stat would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty meaningless stat, really.
It's because it's fun. It's interesting.
Well, only to real nerds. Clipped into the leg side. I don't think an actual team would find that stat particularly useful whatsoever, apart from to say you were fucking lucky, son. As that's clipped out to mid wicket.
They knew anyway.
Which they knew anyway, exactly.
To
come
be
back
fair, Best knew it too. The one that got dragged down halfway, cut. I mean, like the batsman couldn't believe that he'd hit it straight to the fielder.
No,
and like no one's celebrating, and Bess is kind of going,
"Oops."
Yeah, exactly.
Like not making eye contact with anybody.
Well, exactly. You got to smile about it, but you do know, obviously. So it is a meaningless stat.
Well, unless they can tell us what it'll be useful for, I'm happy to be educated that way. But I just can't see how it's practical.
Yeah, Mendes is going to face up to 3 then. This time turns into him. Bess is bowling around a wicket to the right-hander. He's got a short leg and a leg slip.
You happy with that field?
Yeah, I think at this line definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think he's partnerships were up 47, and Mendes has only made 12.
Yeah,
he's made 12 though.
Yeah, well, again, you see, get Thirumarni out, slow things down. Angelo Mattis is next. Does that hit the man at short leg? It was a pretty filthy delivery. It was too short, and Mendes hit it hard. Who is it? Short leg? Is that Crawley? Or is it someone? I don't recognise that. Is that Dan Lawrence?
It seems like someone.
Isn't it Sibley?
Not
it
under
might
the
be.
helmet, I don't think.
It seems like someone who's pretty tall.
Yeah.
Which doesn't that mean if you're tall and fielding there that you're being punished for something?
Well,
Sibley
Crawley
is
has
often,
been there in the past. I think it might be Crawley. Clipped
might
into
be
the leg
Crawley.
side, out through mid wicket. Bairstow has to chase it down, and there is 2 runs.
Well, this is my last ball for the day, so after this, I will see you guys tomorrow.
And my last ball for the day too.
It's lovely to see you, Annie. Hope you have a good
lovely
Saturday.
to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers.
Who's in tomorrow?
Lovely to see you all.
I'm bloody in tomorrow.
So
See you
I'm in
next
tomorrow.
test. I'm not, so see you next test.
I'll see you next time. And
Bye.
see you
Nice
all
to
guys.
see Katie too, and lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Bye, Ben.
Guys tomorrow.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, it's nice to see nice to see all the people who are now leaving, and it's nice to be back on myself. Actually, first time I've been on for quite a long time.
It is, Katie. It's a bit strange doing it remotely, but it's better than nothing, isn't it?
It does make it easier to go back and have a little nap in between commentary stints.
Oh, it does.
Are we supposed to have your cat as our picture?
Yeah, I mean everyone would rather see my cat than me.
Okay,
Well,
great.
I think
That's
the
cool.
cat is.
Cat
Mine's
looks
my
very
cat's a
happy.
big Bash fan. I don't know if yours, I suspect, is more of a Test lover.
He's not had the opportunity to see much of either because we only adopted him in February. So
What's his name?
Toby.
Toby. I used to have a cat called Toby. He was a complete lunatic, but lovable.
He looks very
Anyway,
chilled.
151 for 1. We've been talking about Katie's cat. Jack Leach is coming around the wicket. That's pushed away into the offside. And there is no run. Mendes, that smile of relief when he tickled a single, got himself onto 1. Since then, 13 off 46. He's been careful, he's been watchful, and he's conscious of the state of the game. That one turns, but turns safely away from Mendes' outside edge, who clearly wants very little to do with anything that's not there to be hit. 151 for 1. None for 64 for Jack Leach. Forward comes Mendes. Leach, of course, got his best bowling figures in Sri Lanka, but that was at Pallekele. 5 for 83 there. He also took 3 for 70 in the first innings in that game. Took 2 for 42 and 3 for 60 last time out in Galle. So that would have been 2018, wouldn't it? And he comes onto the back foot, goes Mendes, forces this through mid-wicket. Stuart Broad sets off in a jog that had written all over it the fact that he was going to jog a bit, but hope against all hope that someone else would actually end up doing the fielding. It's getting later in the day, of course. 153 for 1. 133 Sri Lanka trail by. The loss of only 1 wicket, of course, for them. They must be feeling, with the way that they're managing the situation at the moment, Bear, that this game's not yet lost by them, is it? By any manner of means.
Not at all.
This one's swept by Mendes. Dom Bess is down there at short fine leg. There will be no run. Annie must have been in absolute heaven. She had Bess and Leach bowling in tandem with Butler behind the stumps. I mean, it was like a Somerset festival for her. She must have been happy as Larry.
But clearly Root doesn't have that much faith in Bess.
Leach again comes around the wicket, and again he turning it away from the right-hander. But again, there's no run. Thimani, of course, has been quite stupendous, and he's been patchy over the years. We've had plenty of conversations about that, but he's 73 not out, and he is part of what could be setting up a very interesting indeed last 2 days of this game. If you'd have looked at the end of day 1 with Sri Lanka all out and England already on their way to chasing down their total, a meagre total of 135, to now be how far behind are they? 133, just the 1 wicket down. 2 days left and half a session in the game. Katie, you'd still say England were favourites, but
Well,
Sri Lanka banging it.
I'd rather be in this position because whilst I always want England to win, I do want an interesting test match. And I'm really glad that Sri Lanka have come out and really fought this second innings a lot more than they did in the first innings.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I would never do that. But Stuart Broad is ambling back rather wearily with Mark Wood to offer him advice because we're going to have a new bowler. But Stuart Broad has got Mark Wood's cap on top of his white floppy hat, which creates a kind of a, well, frankly, ludicrous look. But of course, you can't go handing around bits of equipment to
and
umpires these days.
Glasses, and also his sweatband. So his head is very busy at the moment.
Well, in more ways than one, inside and out, I would suspect, if he was trying to think with the equine one exactly how they can break this partnership and get at least one, ideally 2 more wickets tonight. Then England might feel they're back in the driving seat again.
Absolutely.
Let's jingle up the new bowler.
Yeah.
Do you know Mark Wood? Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick. So just a normal guy. Of course, except for just one thing. What? He thinks that he's a horse. Right. What?
As he is coming around the wicket, and one hand off the bat from Thimani, but he drives it straight to extra cover, and there will be no run.
Looks like Woody fell over again.
Yeah, he did. He did. Obviously, famously lengthened his run to try and preserve his knees, ankles, head, shoulders, toes, and all the other bits of him that seemed to let him down with multiple injuries over the years, and came to the conclusion, didn't he, that extending his run for sort of an easier, more flowing run-up was the better solution than this very short, powerful run-up he used to have. He's in around the wicket again. Thimani onto the back foot, tickles it just backward of square leg, will take an easy single. Moves that total on to 154 for 1, because it's an old ball now. We are...
Well, of course, yeah, that's the other thing. We get a new ball. I mean, we'll have another... What time do we go on till tonight? Do we know?
In theory, I think it was... What time are we now? It should, in theory, be 11:45. So
but
this should
assuming
be
you can
the
have the
last
extra
session.
half hour on top of that, can't you?
But potentially there's a half hour on top of that. Cross that bridge were it to happen.
I'm just wondering how many overs. There's still 17 overs left in the day.
There are, yes, indeed, 17 overs, 17.4. So it's marginally more than the 17. 154 for 1. I don't know what goes on in the mind of birds. I mean, bird brain
Not a lot.
is an expression for a reason, but you know, you do like to think they're probably sort of vaguely watching cricket out of one beady eye as they gather on the outfield there. This one's left alone by Kusal Mendis.
No. I think they're thinking there's lots of things running around here. It's going to entice the worms to the surface, possibly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and obviously the weather recently will have churned things up, as will the spikes of the players. Kusal Mendis, who has parked his Audi and will be breathing enormous sighs of relief that those Olympic rings haven't appeared on his record. And probably... Sorry, Katie, go on.
I suspect it depends which birds it is you're looking at, because you've got quite a few crows. And they
Well, I was looking at the crows most, which is where the cameras were sort of at the time.
Crows are
there was
supposed to be
also a
quite
flock
smart.
of egrets earlier, and I think they're
There
probably
are.
very stupid.
Well, now I'm going to come back to you on that. As to well, I know you know. I believe you know about some of this stuff. So
A little.
you must then. There must be a logic behind why an egret is a bit
Stupid.
daft, as this one was pushed away into the onside. Again, there is no run. Is that the end of the over? If it is, no, Mark
2
Wood
balls
is not
left.
at the end of his over yet.
So why
Humphreys,
are
2 balls
egrets
left.
stupid, Katie?
Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to know that. Why
Do
are egrets
elucidate.
daft?
Why are egrets stupid?
Generally, species tend to be clever because it's useful for them to be clever. So predators tend to be cleverer than prey animals, because prey animals need to be able to eat grass and run away, whereas predators need to be able to actually catch the prey.
Mark Wood is hunting at the moment. He's hunting the wicket of Kusal Mendis, but Kusal Mendis is a bit too smart for him and leaves that one alone, and it's through to Joss Butler. Sorry, Katie.
And likewise, species that rely on sociability tend to be more intelligent because they need to be able to anticipate the behaviours of others, whereas species that are solitary just don't need to know that in order to survive. So they tend to be less clever in that particular way. Although there are lots of different ways of measuring cleverness.
But don't egrets eat fish? Isn't that prey? Do they not have enough fish eaters?
I think they're wading birds, aren't they? So they'll eat little things that hang around in the shore.
Much like sort of seagrass, essentially.
Wood is around the wicket. Mendes ducks, expecting the short ball, I suspect. The second he saw Mark Wood coming around the wicket, he was thinking, hello, this one's going to be aimed at my rib cage. As it was that tennis ball he bounced and gave him bags of time to duck underneath it. Well, that's... Katie, have you got any social media at the same time as giving us an ornithology lesson?
We've got a few things. People talking about spinners. Mog says, so what Bear is saying about spinners is that offies are smart, cunning and meticulous, whilst leggies are just dumb fucks who chuck the ball down, however.
No, but you're talking about... No. I'm saying if I was an off spinner, why I hated bowling to left-handers and hardly ever did, is, for me, it's just frustrating not to be able to bowl at the stumps. And an off spinner, essentially, you can't bowl at the stumps. If it's turning wildly, you can't bowl at the stumps because everything's going down the leg side if you're an off spinner. Whereas as a lefty, you can bowl at the stumps. I just think I think it offers you more if it's turning away from the...
If it's to a right-hander.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was saying. I was saying that's why I hated bowling to left-handers. It was like being an off spinner because you have to, if the ball's turning, you're bowling it 1.5 2 foot outside.
Did you not have a wrong un up your sleeve there when you needed it?
Generally, finger spinners don't. I mean, now you find that your Ashwins and stuff have got Doosras and Cameron balls and all sorts of stuff. So people have developed them, and I guess T20 is partly the reason for that. But still, in a test match on a wicket that's turning, your stop ball you've got to have a stop ball, and you've got to be bowling it most of the time.
Stop you there for one short second. There is another discussion around the ball. It looks as though it isn't going through those handcuffs. England are taking a definite lesson out of Sri Lanka's books, and remember, for Sri Lanka, it was spectacularly successful.
Yeah.
As Fernando took 2 quick wickets, so it looks as though England have. I wonder if they've managed to. Because when we looked at the Sri Lanka ball, I have to say, it looked like a raddled piece of old rubbish that got put in and a practically brand new shiny cherry popped out. And how they reckon that was
I was
similar style and age, I have no idea, but they did.
I was a bit shocked by that one. I've got to say, it didn't look similar at all. But
so we'll see if it's going to work for England in the same way. Jack Leach has 33 on his back, but he's gone for 66 in terms of runs, and he doesn't yet have a wicket. That will be a frustration to him, as indeed it will for any England fan. He seems chirpy enough, though. Probably confident that with the new ball in his hand, it's going to do something amazing. He has it. It's certainly no shortage of turn, Katie, but it just hasn't looked quite as penetrative or threatening, has it?
It really hasn't. No, I don't know if the pitch has, as it ages, is getting for some reason less threatening. It's not what you'd normally expect, but.
Well, he's going about his work like a man who's enjoying himself, probably relieved to be out there, relieved to have got over his various travails. He has 3 men around the bat, and Demani works him away to mid-wicket, where the egrets scatter. Were they the egrets that were scattering, Katie?
Yes, I think so.
Scattering of the egrets. Egrets, he's had a few, but he got them all to move out of the way for that shot.
Well,
I was just going to say, we've got a nice picture from Dan Diper of Mendes and Butler, so I think we'll try and retweet that one if we can.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Dan, the prolific Dr. Dan. 131 now the deficit for Sri Lanka. Kusal Mendes, 1 slip in place for him, and he drops the bat on that in a nunchuck pass manner, and there's no run.
I was going back to that thing. I think it has turned, and it still is turning, but the turn's quite predictable, and there's no up and down on the bounce. And I think
inches in around the wicket, gives it plenty of air. Forward comes Mendes, slides it away to backward point, no run.
So you can prop forward, and if you get it right, there isn't at the moment. There's not a chance. But we haven't seen hardly any at all. Where if you get forward, it's suddenly going to explode out the pitch and come out the pitch almost vertical, and then catch the glove and loop up somewhere. It's actually quite predictable, the bounce, so you can get on top of it.
Plenty of air from Leach.
But is
forward.
that
No run?
has that the pitch changed in that sense? Was it doing that?
No,
earlier?
he wasn't doing it for Sri Lanka either. It's turned a lot, but I mean, possibly the one that got Dan Lawrence popped a little bit. But that was a new ball, actually. He was bowling with a new ball.
Reach in, again, plenty of flight, plenty of air. Dropping it in at the toes of Kusal Mendis, who appears to be in a mode at the moment where occupation is everything, aggression is not.
Well,
which is probably about right, I think, for the stage of the day and the stage of his career and the time left in the game. Diving stop away to his left from Johnny B. And there will be again no run.
We've got a few tweets again about spinners. Messages says there is Warnian evidence to suggest that you can be a dumb fuck as well as being a brilliant leggy. And Mog replies, he sure is dumb as a box of headless hammers. And then we've got Big Sexy Barry saying, can we analyse Ashley Giles for predicted wickets versus actual wickets?
I think we're going to have to throw that one to Knuckle, wherever he is at the moment, probably at home, I would imagine, of course, under the current circumstances. We'll set him that one as a project.
Speaking of Knuckle, he tweeted in a few minutes ago, everyone knows Bess was lucky, but it's interesting, to me at least, and presumably to some other people, that it was statistically the luckiest innings on record for an England spinner. Also, sometimes the stat is enough in its own right, and I enjoy the chase.
yeah, the stat's quite fun.
Wood comes in around the wicket, spears this in towards Thimani, who is untroubled and steers it away to backward point, and there's no run.
And I'm sure, the people are into it. That's fine. I just think it's a useful stat, as Al said. It's you're going to go in the dressing room and tell him he's lucky. Yeah, well, he knows that.
There's a lot of attention on that clock, by the way, isn't there? The old 16th century clock tower.
Mm-hmm. Presumably they're talking about what time play can go on till.
Because it's 5:05 local time. Possibly 5:30. I think originally it was going to be 5:45, so maybe we are in for a longer session as forward comes Thimani. Fielded on the offside again, no run.
No, that one. Well, maybe that's because the other clock says.
Oh, is that? Hang on, that looks like two different clocks telling two totally different times.
Well,
have I lost the plot, or has the clock stopped? Maybe there up there.
I think that one is wrong.
Well, you know what they say, it's right twice a day, but
it's not right.
Well, it might be unless it's going now, but
slower.
Wrong.
Oh, that is very
never
true.
Right.
That is very true. 155 for one. We're in the 59th over. Thimani 75 not out. What a splendid innings this has been from him. And there is a slip in place for Mark Wood, who spears this in full and goes straight to Stuart Broad, who is stationed there at short extra. Again, there is no run. Fishermen are setting out on for their evening catch now, though, Katie.
Yep. Fresh
John
fish.
Batham says, disappointing from England spinners today. Pitch doing enough, so length and line and surface will do the work. Some latitude for Leach because of lack of cricket.
You know, the last game here in 2018 for England, 3 wickets went for seam and 16 went by a spin, as this one is ducked under by Thimani. A bit of a messy old take from Joss Butler, perhaps a slightly weary one. And we are focusing in on our cameras at Jeetan Patel, who's looking a little bit sort of miffed, isn't he? I suspect he's feeling that somehow his charges are not executing to brief.
I'd like to have seen Moen. And one thing you can say about Moen, he bowls a consistent line and length. If he finds it, he'll put it there all the time.
Yeah, he's
a much better spinner than
Moen's a conundrum these days.
And he bowls very well.
Around the wicket again comes Wood. This is pushed back to him, and he fields quite sharply off his own bowling. Moen. Bear, I know you're an admirer. He just seems to be so much a confidence player that you just somehow these days he's become, dare I say, mercurial. You never quite know what you're going to get from him.
He's essentially inside as a spinner, though, isn't he? Really, more than a batsman, and has been for quite some time. And he was always quite a consistent spinner. And I'm sure he liked his conditions. He had good memories the last time he was here.
I think he, after this ball...
Wood in again, very full. Played solidly in front of his stumps by Thimani. These two have definitely got a none shall pass attitude about
Yeah,
their
definitely.
life. I love the look at this drone. Must be hovering above that fisherman. I wonder if he knows he's going out globally on TV as he goes about his evening work.
Probably not. Oh, I was going to say, when you were talking about why would they fly them out in the thing, a lot of these professional drones, they have an auto return when the battery gets to a certain level.
Not if it's sunk down to the bottom of the sea, it doesn't.
Well, no, that's the point. You know, when it's got
Oh, I see, I'm
whatever
with you,
it
yeah.
means, it'll just return. You can set a return function on
Yeah.
it, and it will return to
that's
sender.
quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's clever.
because otherwise
I was
they
worried
fall
about
out the
it.
sky as well. That's exactly why they have it, so that you don't
I need
run
one of
too
those
long.
when I go out for a long walk and get lost and then can't figure out where I am.
Well, I mean, a mobile phone would also do with GPS.
True enough. Now we're having a look at the light meter. Mr. Paligaruga was going to stroll over and have a word with Puma Damascena.
We've done well for weather today, haven't we? I thought, looking at the radar, I was sure that it was going to get rained out by the end of the day, but it's just that rain that's sitting to the east of Galle has just not moved. And
Well, considering I was getting messages from certain people who shall be nameless overnight about, if it's raining, do I have to get up? To which my reply was, how are you going to know if it's raining or not until you've got up?
so I've
Or at least
got a plan
woken
about
up,
this.
you know.
So I've got a thing, especially for the Ashes next year, when you really don't want to have to get up if they're just going to sit there raining. What you need to do is twin up with someone you know in the country, or preferably the city.
Oh, this is true. Jack Leach is in. He's coming around the wicket to Kusal Mendes, who just pushes him into the offside.
And set your phone so that even if it's on silent, it will make a noise if that particular person texts you, and then tell them to text you just before play starts.
Well, that's a very sound idea. As onto the back foot goes Mendes, punches this away through cover. And I would have thought that there was a single there, but such is the seeing out time mentality of these two at the moment that they wanted none of it. Good, honest, hard-fought Test cricket is this. Onto the back foot goes Mendes, and again he pushes this into the offside. Definitely no run on that occasion.
Well, it might.
Adjustment of the cap at slip by Joe Root, who has a slightly perplexed and vaguely worried look upon his face. Sorry, Bear.
Well, I was going to say it might suit England to get off the field now. They're still 130 runs behind. I mean, they might get a lead. They still might not, you know. Ooh.
Leach in, that one turns, and it was a high periscope leave by Mendes. I mean, he was well out the way of it, but as you were saying, Katie, there was prodigious turn, but as Bear had been saying, predictable. That one, however, was, I think you could fit into the category of well judged. In the school of there's only two kinds of leave, and that was a good one.
Oh, that's out.
Lighted, taken edge, surely that's gone. Leach has his man. Mendes has edged straight to the gloves of Jos Buttler. England have got that breakthrough, and they will be thanking the heavens for that, given the stage of play and how well set these two were. It was a conventional forward lunge, the ball ripped and turned, took the edge, Buttler did the rest, and the second wicket has gone.
Yes.
On your bike, mate.
That was an absolute peach of a delivery. Got the length.
Wasn't it just?
It got a length just right. Couldn't get forward enough to it. Didn't.
So do you think that's been it there? Because I mean,
Well,
we've
no.
seen
I
so
mean,
many
some of
balls
the-
which have turned and then not looked dangerous at all, despite
Well, because
turning
they-
massively.
Well, some of them. I mean, that didn't. He said the ball before turned a lot, but it didn't turn as much as some of the others have. You know. And sometimes you can. It's great. The wicket's turning, but if it's turning square, people lunge forward. Misses going to miss the bat every time as well. That's
But
why
the
you
length-
want it. That's
the
why you
length
want
was
it.
spot on for that, wasn't it? 'Cause
Yeah.
he had to play. He had to play something at it, and he was looking just to defend. So it's a
Exactly.
combination of length and turn.
Well, it'd be handy if he developed a decent arm ball as well. I don't see him or Best particularly using it. One that just goes.
Old mates, of course, are there Buttler and Jack Leach.
When I was in Galle, we went out for a meal the night before the Test match, and Jack Leach and Jos Buttler were in the same restaurant as us together, having a meal, enjoying their last day of freedom before they had to play.
Yeah.
So clearly they do actually get on and socialise together, not just having known each other for a while.
Well, it looks to me like it's night watchman time.
Oh, interesting.
And the night watchman is our friend Embel Dinier. Or as some people have been calling him, Embel Denier.
Yes.
So whether he denies the existence of Embels or whether he's an Embel Dinier, I'm not sure. But either way,
He has a jingle that goes like
he is
this.
the man in.
Watch this kid throw them down. He smashed a finger in his second game. There was concern, but it was just dislocated. Oh, that's it, then, Denier. Happy days wherever you play.
I don't think you can say Kusel Mendes did anything wrong there either, really. I think it's just a cracking ball. Maybe playing out too far in front of him.
Yeah,
Possibly.
In retrospect, you might have considered playing that off the back foot, but that's also a dangerous game, isn't it?
Well, that is a dangerous game, although the bounce has been quite consistent, as I said, but he is pushing maybe his hands out in front of his pads, and if he hung them under his, or level with his pad, maybe it would have missed.
Take it now. England are on the hunt. The more intelligent species, was Katie saying, operating as a pack, sociably, surrounding the new man at the crease. But are they smart enough to do the job, Katie? There's the question.
And we've got a few tweets on that sort of subject. We've got Mog saying the crows will be busy plotting to fashion hooks out of twigs to break into lunchboxes. And Leah says crows are known to manufacture tools, the only birds to do so, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Well, Messages says, is Katie suggesting that antisocial vegans are really dumb then? Well, yeah, I mean, as a fairly antisocial vegetarian, I would say probably yes.
I don't think it's antisocial to be vegetarian.
I would say those two are separate parts of your personality.
I would say that. Embel Dinier, anyway, has faced the one ball and survived it. So Thimani will be on strike. Jack Leach has come up with a peach to take the key wicket, and it's 155 for 2. Sorry, Katie.
Leah is also worried about the drones. She says the salty air will F that drone up good.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
We have Dom Bess into the attack, who's around the wicket to Thimani, who cuts straight to point, and there's no run. I have to say, our director of our pictures is...
He likes the drone, doesn't he?
He's this one's whipped off his legs by Thimani and completely take a single, and the throw was... Who was that?
It was Sam Curran.
Was it Sam Curran? He put everything into the throw and left the ball behind him. It sort of dropped behind him. It was... I
think it dropped on his head.
It was not his finest moment, I'm afraid. It was like a comedy throw as he puts his head in his hands. To be honest, he might have almost have dropped that as well.
My baby daughter has started learning to throw, but sometimes she forgets and just drops the ball before throwing it.
Oh.
That turns away from the left armour. Now, I think that's a good move by Root to let Dom Bess loose bowling at the left armour, because that rips away from his offside, doesn't it, Bear? To your earlier conversation. That one turns and nearly takes the edge. They're giving Embel Dinier quite an examination here. Hands on heads in both camps. Yeah, England in frustration, possibly Sri Lanka in relief. 156 for 2. They want the Lasith Embel Dinier to stay there. Take the strike, take the heat off Thimani. Make sure he is there as well in the morning. The crows are gathering. It's like a scene from The Birds. 3 men around the offside, 1 on leg, and that one's just pushed away into the offside. We have a slip, a very short gully. We have a silly point, and we have a forward short leg. He is not short of company. Speaking of sociability, Katie, is Lasith Embel Dinier. Bessing again, right arm over, forward a little bit edgily, but along the ground. There's no run. 130 Sri Lanka trail by. 61 overs we've had today. It's 156 for 2, and Embel Dinier has survived. And so, of course, to celebrate that fact, we'll go back and watch a man fishing whilst we hand over the mic to Katie for some messages.
Do you think that the person choosing the pictures is wondering what he's going to have for his tea? That's why he's
Fish, I would imagine.
on the pictures.
Wouldn't be surprised if it was fish, given he's clearly fascinated by the activities of these fishermen, which is, I have to say, very interesting. But
Knackle has tweeted in saying, "Why does everything need to be useful?" I think this is in the context of stats. This is the government's approach to any form of education that doesn't directly in one step lead to making money. Learning is good. You work out what to do with it afterwards. And Mog has said, emboldenia sounds like a sudden brain problem involving blood clots.
That's an embolism.
Looks like
Trust me, I know about them. I've had one and survived it, thank God. However, it is the close of play for the day. The light meters were being held above those stumps, and the length of time they were doing it for suggested that probably that was going to be curtains for the day. I'm not going to start flogging our shower curtains again just because I mentioned the word curtains. It's 156 for 2. England will be desperately relieved that they managed to get that second wicket. Sri Lanka, for their part, I think will consider they've a job well done, and Emboldenia has done his job as night watchman to make sure that Thimani A didn't have to take much strike, and B is going to be there when they all come out in the morning. I think, Bear, we are quite nicely poised, aren't we?
I think we are quite nicely poised. I think England, both sides will be quite happy to get off. England will be quite happy that they finally broke that partnership. Be fresh in the morning. They've got a night watchman. They hope to get rid of him quick. That's 3 down. Then they really got to concentrate on getting the next 3 batsmen out. And I think if they can break those before they reach parity, they wouldn't have a lot to chase. And ideally, with 130 runs, if they can get a couple of wickets quickly, things can still collapse quite quickly for Sri Lanka. You could see them being.
Paul Collingwood, my favourite.
Yes, you could see them, getting a couple in the next 30 or 40, and then suddenly a collapso happens, and the rest fall for another 40 or 50. In which case, they'll still be 40 behind, and it'll be an innings and 40 run win.
Well, let's very quickly just give you a brief reprise of the day. 320 for 4. England were at the start. Remember, it was Joe Root was on 160 something, Joss Buttler on not very many. Joe Root did go on to get that double ton, and in a big way. 228 for him before he was caught. Emboldenia bowled Pereira. Dan Lawrence 73. Joss Buttler made 30 before being caught behind off the bowling of Fernando, who then went and took a wicket first ball with the next one, getting the really going through the gate with one that swung in and completely eluded poor old Sam Curran. Dom Bess run out for a ludicrous duck. There was a potential discussion of an LBW decision. Bess got completely befuddled and just forgot to run and sacrificed himself to save his captain, which ultimately proved to be the right thing to do. Jack Leach went for 4, Mark Wood went for 2, Stuart Broad was batting and was 11 not out at the end. Sri Lanka set off as we all settled back, probably expecting, but by this stage now we'd be saying, and England have won. Not a bit of it. They had a fantastic partnership initially between Kusal Perera and Thimani. 62 though, Kusal Perera went for. He was caught Leach bowled Curran. Thimani, the not out batsman, on 76. Kusal Mendis, we all sat on the edge of our seat for quite a few deliveries, wondering if he was going to get that 5th blob in a row. He didn't. He made 15 though before Leach really got one to rip, and he took the outside edge of Mendis's bat and snaffled by Buttler. Emboldenia came in as night watchman and did his job well enough. 156 for 2. Sri Lanka trailed by 130, 8 wickets in hand. We have plenty to look forward to going into day 4. Katie and Toby, are there any final messages?
Toby? Oh, right.
Toby's the cat.
The cat, yes.
I'll remember these things, Bear.
We've suddenly got a whole flood of messages. I was going to say no, but Knackle says you don't need an arm ball, though Best does have one. You can encourage non-turn by undercutting the ball or changing the angle of the seam. Plus, some balls won't turn even if you bowl it for turn, and often the non-turner is more dangerous.
Yes, well, that's my point. But this wicket seems to be consistently turning. So, well, I would consider the undercut or whatever. That's a type of arm ball. Basically, you're bowling it to go straight on. So, whether it's an undercutter or one where you bowl the seam horizontal or vertical. I used to have an arm ball, basically a vertical seam ball. It was pretty crap. I think it was quite obvious. I know that's you got to kind of disguise it. But yeah.
Farong has given us something to discuss tomorrow, which was on the topic of birds. Which bird best suits each member of the gorilla crew? Can of worms for us to discuss tomorrow.
Or can of worms. You see, you can't leave alone the bird analogies, can you? I could think nothing that would entice a flock of birds more than a can of worms. But okay.
Well, it depends what sort of bird.
Mog says, thanks for your top work again today, chaps and chapettes.
Thanks, Mog.
Thank you, Mog.
Always a pleasure.
Do we know what time we're starting tomorrow?
No.
Okay, in that case, you need to watch our social media feed because we're going to have to work it out. But we will, and we will see you for what we thought we might not see because we thought England were going to steamroll the things they haven't. And we will see what transpires, or it could be a very interesting day's cricket.
Yeah, it doesn't sound crick info.
Thanks from everyone who's been on today. Grubby, Al, Annie, Katie, Bear, David Brooke, of course, and me. Enjoy your whatever time of day it is for you, and we will see you in our morning. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Guerrilla crickets.